Hi guys, welcome to the Movers Corner Financial Wellbeing Series Part 2. My name is Banele Shabalala.
And I'm Edwin Deguso. Hi guys, and we're again with our main man here, Enza Magubane. Enza?
Yeah, good day everyone. Thanks for joining us again. From the guys that caught the last episode, thank you for joining in once more. As you know, my name is Enza Magubane. Currently practice as a wealth advisor. The two gentlemen here once again have invited me in just to speak everything finance, just to share some knowledge that I have about the industry in various aspects, and hopefully the little bit that I know might help somebody else in making their big financial decisions.
Oh, 100%. And just to give everyone context, and we touched on it, we just under 700 views on Facebook. So 700 of y'all watched it. So yeah, thanks for the support, guys. And today, in today's episode, we're unpacking our first purchases.
Yeah, very touchy subject, especially when you're going through that phase whereby you're learning. So high school, when you get to varsity or tech or whatever college you go to, and then you're looking for that one item that you actually want so badly, and you even work hard, whether it's at higher certificates, the degree, the diploma, post, it doesn't matter what you're doing, and you finally get there, and then you now need to realize, wow, I made the correct decision, or damn, it was the wrong one.
And by the way, that one item is a car. It's a car. If you're a gent, that one item is a car.
Yeah, it's usually a hatchback. Yeah. Has a sign that it has nothing but lines on it. But anyways, on that note, well, we shared our stories, and you guys know what my worst purchase is. I'm not gonna go into it.
But maybe for the guys who haven't watched the episode, maybe
I feel like you love this topic. But anyways, all right. So my worst purchase ever is I'm not gonna say the brand. I've said it once before. But I purchased a vehicle, way too high mileage, way too expensive for the mileage it had. It had like 170 odd thousand on the clock, and I bought it for about 170k. So I feel like I was paying like 10,000 per odd thousand K, somewhere around there. You do the math.
170
yeah,
for
170. Yeah, like it's a grand.
For 1K, it's R1.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Imagine if they all were priced like that. Had the worst experience ever, guys. I still drive around in it though now.
He loves it, and they always steal his badge. Sorry.
Yeah, like it's the second time they stole my badge. Yeah, guys. I'm lucky I still have the tires though. I still have the tires on it, and the steering wheel is still there. Because sometimes people walk in and they take that from my vehicle. Yeah. But in a nutshell, bought this vehicle, highly overpriced, paying through my, I don't know what now, but because of the fluctuations when it comes to the repo rates, and it was nothing but a downhill slide for me. And to be honest, I think I'm glad. I think I am. Could have been better if I had somebody like myself and Edwin at Enza here actually advising me that, no, look, man, this is how you structure your finances. This is how you know you can actually afford something. So guys, if you haven't gone through the parts of affordability, go to our first series where we actually touch on that. The first episode, I mean. We actually touch on affordability, right? And we also touched on a little bit about, I think it was cash flow, right?
Yeah.
Just because you have 10,000 and the car is 6,000 doesn't mean you afford it, guys. There's other elements to actually go into it. And yeah, that was my first purchase. I'm not going to go into it. That's it. That's my story.
What's your story? What's your first purchase? And I'll go after him.
Yeah. My first purchase again, same as Banele. Got myself a car. Slightly different circumstances. I decided that I'm gonna walk into a dealership and swipe and walk out with a brand new car. You know that stunt.
You've got the right wealth advisor, guys.
You know that stunt just an auction of driving around the motor in a pair on a move. before you get your license plate. You know, like that thing that no man, you keep it boxy. So I was that dude. I wanted to go in, swipe, you keep it boxy. Literally I remember that the day I bought it. So there, boys, we go out to a restaurant, me and my mates, we just having something to eat, a couple of drinks, just to celebrate a little. And by that evening, when the restaurant starts getting packed, so some guys had seen the posts already. And one of the gents comes up to me, and congratulations with a new car, bada bada bam. And I don't know, some guy would just fall like that. The guy's like, oh, so what are you paying there? 7,000, 8,000. I'm like, no, dog, I bought it cash. And I'm going to excitement, dog, I've arrived, I'm that dude. Everyone's going to be like, I'm that guy. And fast forward a couple of months down the line, I realized it's probably one of the worst financial decisions I've ever made.
But Enza, we get people who say cash is better, like buying.
So remember, we touched on this in the first episode. We talk about cash is king and the fallacy around that. There are certain purchases that cash is king. It's not. I'm not saying don't buy anything ever in cash, but there has to be circumstances surrounding that. If I was a multi-millionaire and I walked into a dealership and I bought a car cash, that's fine because I still have a couple of other millions in my bank account that still secure my liquidity, still allow me to meet my other monthly obligations. Because at the end of the day, guys, your car installments isn't your only monthly obligation. You have other things you need to pay for. So I think sometimes we get so fixated on our big costs and like either say, one, I want to spend all my money on covering this big cost, and then you forget that this big cost is you still have to maintain it every month, or you find you've paid off your car in full, but you're still struggling now on your monthly bills, on your electricity, on your water, on your rates. Whereas had you just paid a big deposit and maintained majority of your cash flow, you wouldn't feel that month-to-month pressure. You'll still be able to subsidize the little salary you have with the savings pocket that you have and just keep topping it up 1,000 rand a month. And that down the line just makes a difference for your own sanity, your own cash flow. Because at the end of the day, guys, life is long. Although it might be short. I was actually watching a video the other day explaining how short life is, considering how much time you sleep, wada. But when the tax man comes at the end of the year, they don't care how long you slept. You've allowed for a full 12 months. They want their full 12 months of production. When your costs come in, when your electricity bills come in, if you don't have if you're not using meter electricity, which is now also just skyrocketed, but nonetheless, if you're not using your meter electricity, you most likely, if you're using
prepaid.
They're not prepaid, the other one.
No,
month end, which hard. And most often than not, that electricity is not even true to your household. It's a street average or it's a neighborhood average. So those things like that, you've got to account for your day-to-day living that those bills will come. And sometimes they might catch you off guard, and you're like, hey, why is this man thing I think I'm hold on? But it's because you took all of your savings, threw it into a big purchase, and now you're just sitting with your salary and this paid off car you get to look at.
Yeah, that's a very interesting view, hey?
So in other words, on that part, before you go ahead, Evan, so in other words, you're telling us, so in this case, it would have been a better decision had you just basically gone in there, negotiated a better rate, a repo rate, and then paid for it on a monthly basis.
Yeah, see that is, and when you have a lump sum figure, if you you've got an inheritance, you've won the lotto, a big Betway cash out, you're now sitting with R500,000 in your bank account, you think to yourself, oh, dingy mod. And in that instance, you say, let me go pay off this car, go bang phone, let's create every month. Fair enough, the logic there is not wrong. But when you sit down realistically and you look at everything else, you might realize the better option is to have let's just create every month. Because having that big lump sum, what it allows you to do is that sometimes, I don't know what your situation was, especially by a second-hand car, the dealership tries to reel you in and say no deposits required. And then you go and you pay, and you buy this car for this big sum, Or if let's say you didn't have any deposit value, you don't have a lump sum in your bank account, you're just grateful that there's this dealership that says now you more 180,000, no deposit required. What then happens there? Oftentimes the interest rate that the banks want to offer you is high, because you have no skin in the game.
Yeah.
So the banks like this guy can walk away from this loan at any minute because he has no skin in the game. He hasn't put out any of his own money to get out this car. So you're higher risk, high interest rates. Versus saying that if the dealership or the bank rather says, put down a 10% deposit, we'll give you your car loan.
Yeah.
And then they'll give you, say, prime plus 3. And you say, no, bank, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to pay you a 30% deposit. Nah? So when now you have this bigger equity claim in your purchase, and then you say, bank, but I'm not going to accept your prime plus 3 because I now have a larger equity stake. Your risk has subdued. So instead, I'm going to pay 30% and you're going to give me a prime. And then now you're negotiating beneficial interest rate agreements. But then you've still maintained quite a substantial amount of your cash flow. And that's how then you're paying a less every month, but you still maintain a good cash flow. When things happen down the line, your engine goes, your maintenance plan ends, you need to extend, you have money to do all these things. And that's the game you want to be playing. Say, bank, I want to use your money, but I want to use it on my term.
Oh yeah. I'm taken aback with your story, and mine is quite simple. And I think we watched episode 5 or so. I unpacked it. So basically, what I did is applied for finance online before I actually went into the dealership. And to be honest, again, I shout out to the Red Bank. You guys were awesome on my deal because they gave me prime plus 1%.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was quite fair. So there was this other green bank which wanted to give me prime plus 3.5%. I'm like, you guys insane. But yeah, so what I did was I applied for finance. So when I went to the dealership, I already had finance pre-approved. So it just, even when the dealer, the salesperson tried to apply to the other banks, I already was secure. I was like, no, I don't need that. I don't need like what do they call it at the end where you have to pay. I did not need a balloon as well because I already had my package from the Red Bank, so it was a very seamless experience. And yeah, I think that's how going forward I'm looking at making purchases, is getting pre-approval first and then looking for the asset that you want to buy.
You see, again, the closer you get to prime, those are very beneficial deals. And again, to go back to our previous episodes, that those things are, again, you're looking at your credit record, you're looking at your spending patterns, etc., and they say, okay, likelihood of this person walking away from the deal, minimal, he's reliable, pays his debts on time, A, B, and C, we can give him a beneficial interest rate. And that's the game where guys, we again touch on, I keep referencing back to the whole episode, sorry, is that the same way that we spoke about the last episode, is that go back to your creditors if you're in trouble of default or whatever, and renegotiate those deals. It's the same way when you're making these purchases and the bank comes out and says, this is my offer, negotiate those deals, put out your claim, say, nope, this prime plus 3 is not good enough for me. Shop around, go to all these different places and try to source out different deals, and because you'll be surprised, guys. There's, at the end of the day, on the other, when you make an application, on the other side there's a computer and then there's a person. There's auto approvals where it means everything of yours is just pristine, and the computer just says, oh, easy. And then sometimes it's multi-layered with the different clearances where you're within a certain bracket. Okay, this one must go to the line manager, and the line managers must manually approve or decline. So if you're falling within those brackets, your negotiation can go either way again. Because they're not saying that you're horrible and it's third fast, but they're not saying that you're great. So they might first come through and offer you a prime plus 3, and then if you just go talk to them and they say, okay, fine, we'll give you a prime plus 2. And that interest rate over 5 years makes a difference. That 1% over 5 years makes a difference.
Makes a huge
Actually,
difference.
that leads me to something that I was told when I was actually trying to purchase a vehicle. And they made it seem like shopping around was not a good thing. And here you are saying that it is a good thing.
Yeah.
Why would they say it's not a good thing? Is it because of lack of understanding, or do they just want to secure the deal themselves?
No, it's tricky. See, how can I put this so it doesn't sound political? Sometimes in these industries that you're in, because again, as a wealth manager, when I sit across a client and we can even put myself in this predicament because I'm not the guy. Sometimes when these other wealth managers are sitting across a client and they're trying to convince clients to go with a certain investment plan, etc., you kind of somewhat play around with the truth, stretch it just a tad bit so that you can get your points across. Not necessarily to the detriment of the client, because that's obviously unethical business. But sometimes you just like, yo, brother, about put it to answer your question. So the fallacy is that if you apply for credit a lot of times, that reflects badly on your credit record. Because then the logic is that you financially in such a predicament that you just applying for credits everywhere. Yeah. So that does play a role, but it's not a great determinant of what your final credit score is. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not taking out the credit. You're not going to 5 different
and taking
it. All you're doing, you're inquiring. How much do I qualify for here? How much do I qualify for here? How much, you're just inquiring. So anyone that then sits and looks at your credit score, say, okay, you want to make a purchase. You're not at Gateway trying to open up different store accounts. You're making a big lifetime commitment. You're making a big financial decision. So the only responsible fiscal thing to do is to consider all your options. Just to shop around and see what makes the most sense, what debt obligation can I meet, who's willing to meet me where I'm at. So anyone that tells you that it's a bad idea, or it's bad to shop around, yes, they're correct to a certain extent, but not 100% correct.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the kind of grey line that people sometimes walk on. That they're not lying to you, but they could expand on it to give you better clarity on your actions.
Okay, no worries.
No, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And you also get into situations whereby, yes, you bought your first car, it's 3 years later. Now it's a balancing act between how much your car is worth now versus how much you owe the bank.
Yeah.
You can continue to pay it off, but the gap keeps widening, if we're being honest. You get to a point whereby it's 4 years later now, the gap, like cars just tank, guys, irrespective. So in your personal capacity and in your opinion, do you think it's a good idea to maybe trade in your car at the peak of its value, or do you think going the route of paying it off completely is a bit better?
Yeah, and again, I'll keep going back to the same points. It all depends on your financial position. Yeah, is that oftentimes I'd say rather just trade in, have your gap cover, trade in, and if the new model is slightly higher, then your gap will cover it, and so forth and so forth. And that just gives you the peace of mind of knowing that you have a structured financial plan. Like you know what to expect. You know that in 2 years or at 60,000 kilometers, you're changing cars, your premiums increasing or staying the same, or are you looking for the new model? Or, like you can set up your things properly when that happens. But we're not all in those beneficial circumstances. Sometimes it does require you to have a balloon. Because sometimes you're saying, I can't even afford this entry level equating him land. You know what I'm saying? I need to, at the end of this payment plan, give me 5 years, I'll save up this 10K, this extra 10K balloon and pay it off, you know, and so in your head you're saying, instead of taking on an extra 1,000 Rand premium, all you're gonna do is save 500 Rand every 3 months and just keep it aside for the 5-year plan, which you're gonna pay off this balloon. And again, that's a harder discipline for you to do, but if your lifestyle requires that, there's so many options. You know, there's so many options, but obviously the more creative you start getting, the more discipline is required. And not to say those options are bad for you or whatever, but obviously they start increasing your risk of default. At the end of your balloon, at the end of your period, you're gonna pay off this balloon. You don't have that money. Now the bank still wants the car. You think to yourself, "But I've been paying for 5 years. How do I still owe the bank? How do they want to take my car again?" Nah. And you told it at that point your car value is higher than your balloon. But they're on your case. It's about the money. So it's a big balancing act, and don't make these decisions in haste. You know. Don't make a decision in haste. Sit down. If a bank's offering a balloon, offering you these different payment structures, really sit down, take your time, read up. YouTube, there's so many YouTube videos now that explain these different payment methods. There's so many YouTubes, just about anything that you need. Sit down, do your research. You know, do your research, understand what the agreement you're getting into is, because obviously your sales consultant is gonna tell you the crux of it. You know, they tell you the structure A, B, and C, this is how it is, but it's seldom that they're really gonna get in depth and they're never gonna emphasize the downsides. You know, that's the game. They're never gonna emphasize the downside. They'll touch on it because that's ethically correct, but they'll never emphasize that. Yo, listen, after 5 years, more key like should have let balloon. I know they yet. You know, they just fast past that point. So. Y'all guys, sit down. To reiterate my words from the last episode, consult every time, consult.
So guys, I think if there's anything you've learned here, if you heard nothing this entire conversation, no, not just consult. Watch the first episode.
Yeah, reference is key.
Yeah, because right now you're probably thinking, why are these guys so high level? We went into deep detail on the first episode.
An hour long.
Yeah. So this one will be shorter, of course, but listen, go back, consult from that first episode, and yeah, you will see the light. I'm actually liking this conversation because I think certain elements, like I so wish I had the Movers Corner and it ends up sitting there in the Banele and Edwin asking questions, the questions which I need answers to when actually making that first purchase. But I guess it's actually true testament to the idea of the Movers Corner. We're here to actually help you guys out, whereby we fell short, so you don't go through the same issues again. And yeah,
I'm good as well. I really enjoyed the episode, guys, and it puts a lot into perspective around future purchases, because hey guys, I'm on the wrong side of 28. So now it's time for a home and a new car and all of that. So the balancing act of number one, affordability. I think affordability is very key. So I need to work on affordability and see what can.
Yeah. Next phase, property.
Yeah, no, it's time now. Hey guys,
property.
We're old.
I think if I could have, I would have flipped it around, sold property. But unfortunately, the career didn't allow that. Because I was a sales rep, needed to be on the road. I wasn't going to drive around in my home. Huh?
Yeah.
So,
exactly. So but why did one guy, so he lives in a shack, and he bought the new Golf 8.
Oh gosh.
So the comments were, why would you buy a Golf 8 and you're living in a shack? And someone responded, you can't raise a home. So yeah, it's cars. It is what it is. That's how it is what it is.
And before we close it off, shout out again to Mike's Kitchen, Park Square in Mhlanga. You guys are awesome, and looking forward to actually shooting more often here. Maybe one of these days we'll have a promo video with them, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely.
Not promising anything.
Guys, come through. Like I said, come through bring your family, bring your friends, bring your partners. Amazing
Exes.
food.
That's what he said.
No, I've never said anything like that.
I'll bring reference. Huh?
So yeah, awesome guys. Thank you, Mike's Kitchen, and again, thank you, Enza, for coming through.
Yeah.
You shared so much. It was like
Yeah.
it's a full-on course in like 30 minutes.
Yeah, gents, again, thank you for having me. For the viewers at home, thank you for tuning in once again. Thank you for giving us your time. Be sure to catch the next episode and talk about property. Big discourse about that currently in the market, buying versus renting, and we'll try to discuss and enlighten you why renting is oftentimes better than buying. But until then, I'll take over the show. Thank you for joining us. Please like, subscribe, follow, do all of those great stuff. And once again, peace.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Where'd that come from?